What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review for you, and yet another one that I've been eagerly anticipating, because, once again, 20 bucks spin. Yeah, no, it's just like consistent stuff for us to go over that's generally pretty awesome.
Yeah, 20 buck spin doesn't miss. I
don't
have
think
yet
so.
to find anything on 20 buck spin that I don't like.
So we are going to go over the latest offering from Terminal Nation, Echoes of the Devil's Den. This also comes out on the 3rd of May, again, on 20 bucks spin. It's been formed in 2014 in Little Rock, Arkansas. This is their second album. We actually reviewed their first album, Holocene Extinction. It was a wild journey, like all over the place in terms of hardcore, death metal. They were doing some death doom and grindcore on it.
I love that album.
That album is absolutely ferocious. And I actually just got to see these guys at the Decibel Metal and Beer Fest in Philly, and even got to run into their singer Stan, who's an awesome guy. We actually chatted up for a little bit. And after their live set, I was definitely stoked to go over this, because this band is just flat out heavy. Like having cinder blocks dropped on your skull heavy, and they're in the shape of riffs, if riffs have a shape.
Yeah, from like a 3rd-story window.
Yeah, like you're dead.
Now, in comparison to their first record, and don't get me wrong, I loved their first record. I still love the first record. The production is a little bit different. The guitar tone is just absolutely filthy, feral, disgusting, grimy HM2, and like the whole record is just steeped in that filth.
Yeah, this is definitely grittier than the first one. Like the first one sounds admittedly a little bit more polished compared to this one. Like this just sounds like there's, less compression. They kind of let those guitars really ring out, and I mean, it's an HM2 buzzsaw tone. Of course you let it ring out, because reasons.
Right, because
that I have.
Yep, that I think everybody that's an HM2 fan has. If anything, it might be heavier than they were the first time around.
Honestly, I think so. Like the prominence of the bass, there's a lot of low end. The drums, there's a little bit more reverb on them. Like especially when you hear that snare, like there's a big echoey thwack.
Yep.
And even the vocals sound even bigger and meaner on here. Like this is just a more disgusting, possibly even more angry album than the first one.
I think more angry is definitely a thing. Like it just sounds pissed off. Just all of it. There's not really a moment on this record, except for maybe the instrumental, where it doesn't sound like it's just pissed to all hell.
And admittedly, this one flows a lot differently than the first one. This is more of a straight-ahead attack. Like, the first 5 tracks in here are just a good mix of, like, groove, like a lot of double time, just nasty bolt thrower groove, and stupid, heavy, hardcore infused breakdowns, and even like a touch of doom. This is like all the negative emotions kind of congealing and, forming up into, I don't know, like the most negative meathead in the pit that's just like looking around at people like, you're the one I'm gonna hurt. No reason, really. It's just gonna happen. Accept it. And that person will look like Jammin John. Goodbye, Jammin John.
No, because Jammin John's smart enough not to go anywhere near the pit.
Just when you think the band is already disgustingly heavy, they slow it down to like a halftime breakdown that is just disgusting. It makes you make that face. Maybe not those noises, though. Songs like The Spikes Under the Bridge, written by The Victor, which features Todd Jones of Nails coming in at surprisingly, like, the slowest part of the song. Like, I figured he'd be there for, like, a fast, grindy section.
Yeah.
But no, he comes in on the halftime breakdown end just to make things even heavier. And Dying Alive, in particular, as a more fast, energetic, kind of, like, thrashy, hardcore sort of song there. There's, like, a lot of double time on there, but there's also, like, some big, heavy, droning riffs towards the end, and it's just a gross-ass song. All of these songs kind of have that, like, caveman energy, like, let's just break things. But at the same time, there's a lot of, like, heady subject matter in here. This band is very socio-political. So I guess we can move it up to, like, Cro-Magnon. Maybe. I don't know. This caveman knows how to read.
There are a lot of shifts in this record, and it switches a lot from hardcore to death metal, or from death metal to hardcore, and that seems to be, like, the most frequent thing. Some of my favorite moments on this record were the doom elements. Spikes Under the Bridge, The opening riff for that is absolutely nasty. Just a good stanky doom groove. Empire and Decay is full of doomy moments, and Release the Serpents, the last track, goes from this gate creeper stomp to a straight doom song.
Yeah, that one features a particularly awesome guest appearance from Dwid Hillian of Integrity. And man, all right, that dude's voice is something else. He sounds like he breathes in coal smoke and then exhales fire. Like, it sounds like, Lemmy doing a vocal take after he survived a house fire. His voice is just gravelly and raw, and it's done with such ferocity. And he comes in first, which I thought was really interesting. Like, he's like, oh, no, Dwid, go ahead, take lead. You're Dwid. And how he plays off of Stan's vocals on here, too, I think is really excellent. That song also does a good job in terms of that doomy atmosphere. And something that was on the first one, but I think is maybe used a little bit more effectively on here, are the synths. There's a lot of, like, dreary, doomy horror synths on here. And it's not, like, on every song, but they're on, I would say, like, the right songs. Like, the opening track, the title track, leads in with these doomy synths, and it immediately sets the vibe. Like, it is a bleak hellscape. Like, whatever is pictured on this awesome album cover, it's that.
It's like Big Ben chiming in a thunderstorm, and you're like, oh man, here we go.
Yep, end of the world time.
Yep.
Release the Serpents is also very doomy, and those synths accent the very dreary riffs with their sort of bends and lurches in them. And probably the most melodic track in here that isn't an instrumental uses synths very well. Merchants of Bloodshed, which is a really interesting track because it features probably one of the most dynamic guests on here with Jesse Leach of Killswitch Engage. And they got him to do everything. Like, he's not just singing or growling or doing his yelled spoken word. He's doing all three, actually.
Yeah, and I really didn't expect him to sing, and I also didn't expect him to growl. When he came in with that spoken word part, I was like, oh, there's Jesse Leach. But then he sings, and I thought that was a little odd for the song, but he's Jesse Leach. Jesse Leach belts it out.
Yeah, I mean, he's not doing, like, the most, like, tuneful crooning. It's more or less just, like, a bellow in key, and it's layered behind a lot of growls. And he's doing, like, a cool call and response with Stan, too. Like, he's essentially growling the song title, and then Stan comes in and does, like, a verse. But in between there, like, he's doing these, like, long, hardcore bellows. In fact, there's, like, a big setup to a breakdown that he does. And then towards the end, you start hearing the synths come in, and then his voice kind of projecting a little bit more, again, more in key. Like, it's not like the Jesse Leach singing voice you would hear on, like, the big choruses on Alive or Just Breathing, but it is notably more melodic.
And then there's the instrumental track, Embers of Humanity, which starts out with this creepy, isolated melody, and then harmonies come in, and like it builds really well, and I was expecting vocals at some point, but it never happened. And then you get this really simple, straightforward, just kind of fat drum beat, and it opens up almost like Metallica's One, except there's harmonies, and it's a little bit more sinister sounding.
Yeah, I mean, I got old Metallica vibes big time on that one. And honestly, it's the most melodic track that doesn't feature vocals, I guess, because, again, Merchants of Bloodshed is a pretty melodic track, at least for this band. But yeah, that one kind of surprised me. Not that this band isn't, like, capable of melody. There are a lot of, like, harmonized riffs and, like, just catchy hooks, but, like, not outwardly, like, super melodic. Like, when they do, like, a harmony to a riff, like, it's like a death metal harmony.
Well, yeah, tremolo harmonies.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're the lower register ones, which just tickle me pink.
Cemetery of Imposters, and again, Merchants of Bloodshed. Killer harmonized tremolos. Like, they sound sinister and dark, but they don't jump out as, like, outwardly melodic. Immolation of Mother Earth even features, like, some, like, lead melodies on top of the riff, but at no point do they come across as, like, trying to, like, write a, like, a big, like, anthemic hook. A lot of this is just downtrodden or, well, super angry. Everything on this album just oozes contempt. And, you know, that's kind of what I expected. Again, this band definitely pays attention to a lot of the news, and most news is pretty bad news if you live in this country.
Right? I don't watch the news.
It's pretty depressing, whether or not it's like politics or tornadoes eating the country alive.
Yeah, no kidding. There's a tornado in Alaska this week.
What the fuck? And for the most part, again, this is like a little bit more straight-ahead attack for this band, though there are a couple of songs that I think kind of get a little too shifty for their own good, like namely Empire and Decay.
Yeah, it transitions a lot. Like, I get, going from a faster moment to a slower moment and whatnot, but it shifts probably like, I don't know, 6 or 7 times, and it's almost like it just keeps switching back and forth, like they can't decide exactly what they want to do with the song. Do we want to make it fast? Do we want to make it slow? Do we want a filthy breakdown? Do we want to go back to fast? And it just jumps like that.
Let's just do all those things.
Yeah.
And it's, a relatively short song. Like, I want to say it's like a little bit over 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, there are awesome riffs on it everywhere. And there's just, like, so many, like, dude, you could have just, like, dry humped that, added a harmony to it.
Dude, that opening riff is commanding. Just commanding tremolo harmonies. And and they could have rode that out a little bit longer, because it is gross. But it cuts a little too soon, and then it cuts into a really fast part, and I just thought that was kind of an odd transition for that, especially coming out of such a big commanding riff. And then the second half of the record, I think everything after Embers of Humanity, Merchants of Bloodshed is cool, but I don't even know if that hits quite as hard as the opening half of the record. Like, the first 5 songs are out to get you, and there's no remorse from anybody, and the riffs are heavy, and everything is in your face. And then, like, the second half of the record, I thought maybe that's where they wanted to start taking the melodic approach or making things a little bit different. Like, Cemetery of Imposters, to me it sounded almost like an HM2 version of Municipal Waste.
Yeah, the crossover and, like, punk vocals that show up in there, well, I think they're kind of fun, and they kind of spiced it up a little bit, and it just sounds like, like, the dude's crowding around the mic and yelling. It doesn't necessarily fit the tone of the song. Like, while I enjoy the hell out of this, I wouldn't say, like, the vibe of this album is fun or lighthearted. No, it is not. Bullet for a Stone was one that I noticed, like, I felt like there was just a little bit of a drop-off. Like, right away, like, it's a good song, but it doesn't have the punch of, like, something on the first half. Up until you get to the breakdown towards the end, where it kind of just descends into hell. Like, there's this big descending melody, and it goes halftime, and it's disgusting. And I'll say, like, there's nothing on the second half that I don't like. It's just the vibe is different. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't quite pack, again, that same ferocious punch that it led in with. And in comparison to the first one, because inevitably you just end up comparing it to the first one, I miss kind of the unpredictable nature of this. Mm-hmm. Like, granted, I like that this more focused, straight ahead for the most part. I love riffs. I love grooves. Those are diplomatic. Everyone fucking loves those. But I liked the kind of unpredictable nature of the first one, where you'd have, like, a flat-out Death Doom song, or, like, a quick grindcore, almost, like, crust punk one. Mm-hmm. This one doesn't quite have that, like, almost reckless fuck it attitude that I really liked about the first one, but it also has something that I do like, where it's just focused hostility. And that kind of saves it. This one, I think, just mostly works with, like, a good balance of just flat-out old-school death metal and mean-spirited, ugly, metallic hardcore, and for the most part, the formula in here really works. So overall, I'm going to give us 3.5 stars. This is a solid album. It's different than the first one. It doesn't quite have, again, that same sort of, like, all-over-the-place energy, which I really grew to love, but again, it is a direct attack. Like, there's no pulling a single punch on here, and if you don't believe me, you will probably find out in a mosh pit when this band is playing, because, dude, these riffs inspire violence. Mm-hmm. Rhythmic violence. When this band is heavy, which is like 99.9% of this album, it is absolutely devastating. I actually like the production more on this one. It's grisly, it's ugly, it just oozes musical violence, and I really dig that, and I'm a sucker for an HM2 tone, especially one this beefy, and they kind of just let this thing ring out. Vocals are solid on here, like, it's got a good hardcore punch when it needs it, and then shifting it into death metal, the roars are great too. Like, this is just a mean-spirited, ugly, violent album, and for the most part I love it. I just wish, like, the back half had a little bit more to it. Like, again, it opens so damn strong, but the back half, while it's still good, just doesn't quite have that same energy. But overall, if you like bands like Gatecreeper, Frozen Soul, I would even say Jesus Piece. If you like that sort of, like, violent hardcore, check this band out, check out this album, and check out the other one too if you haven't checked that out too.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said. I gotta learn to start going first so I can say things too. It's definitely a 3.5, and most of that is because of the first half of the record. I agree that it's a good record overall, but I definitely agree that the back half of the record doesn't quite hit as hard as the front half. The first 5 songs are just out to get you. They're the moment that you're maybe standing a little bit too close to the pit, and that breakdown riff hits in the spikes under the bridge, and your buddy looks at you and he's like, come here, come stand back here. You're gonna see that guy right there? He's gonna kill you. And I like the raw feeling of this album, too. Because don't get me wrong, once again, I love the first record. I still jam it all the time. But I mean, I like how just feral and angry and violent this sounds. And a lot of it comes in the tone of the production. Like, the vocals just sound feral. The drums sound supernatural. And again, that snare has a nasty thwack to it. The guitar tone is fierce. Even in the songs that don't hit as hard or the ones that are maybe a little bit more melodic than others, the tone is still like, hey man, go fuck yourself. Bottom line, this record is filthy, the HM2 tone is grimy, and everything is out to hurt you. It's a good album. If you're a fan of things like Bolt Thrower and Frozen Soul and Gate Creeper and Vomit Forth, Maul, and a bunch of other heavy, nasty things, you're probably really going to like this. I would definitely recommend checking these guys out because Terminal Nation rules.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon if you'd like to help us out there. There's a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there. It is also up on our channel in the bottom right-hand corner of our banner. But if you're looking for Thralls Metal stuff, you have to go to thrallsmetal.com. We have t-shirts, both old and new. The old ones are discounted, provided we have your size, and we even have hats too. So if you're looking for any of that stuff, click the link down below.
And certainly, as always, thank you guys. We appreciate you. Thank you for making Thralls of Metal a whole lot larger than we ever thought it would be. It is really neat to be able to come down here and talk about records all the time and then see what you guys think about it. And we just appreciate all the commenting and the interactions that we have with you all. Of course, Nick is a little bit more interactive because he has way more time than the rest of us, but that's beside the point. We appreciate you. Tons of content coming from Thralls of Metal. Album reviews. Again, we're only in May, and there's still 7 months left of this year, and there are a bunch of heavy-hitting albums coming. We've got discography rankings. We've got States of Metal and Nick's other myriad of projects that he likes to throw out there. But yeah, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys absolutely rule, and yeah, like you said, tons of content coming your way. And yeah, we'll be at MDF too, so if you happen to see us floating around, come by, say hi. We'll talk about some metal, provided there isn't like a metal band playing. Which, that doesn't give you like a lot of room because there's always a metal band playing at the fest. But yeah, we'll figure out something. But yeah, it'd be great to run into some fans there. But yeah, thank you guys once again, and we will catch you later.